Well, hello there, and welcome to our Take 5 segment. If you're not familiar with our Take 5 segment, this is where we take 5 minutes and give you a bit of a preview. Usually it's on a Friday, and so I'm recording here on a Friday early afternoon. It's kind of dreary and gross outside, but I just want to take 5 minutes here on the 13th of January to tell you what we're going to be discussing on Sunday the 15th. Well, as you know, we've been walking through this incredible letter written by the Apostle Paul to the gathering of believers that is in the city of Philippi. And we know this letter by the name Philippians, right? And so we have just completed, if you were with us last week, either in person or in teaching, the entire first chapter. So it's just taken us a little over a month and a half to kind of get through the first chapter. Now this week, we're going to be launching into the second chapter. Now the second chapter, we're not going to get to the heart of the second chapter this week. We're going to save that for next week. But the heart is verses 5 through 11. This is the model that we are to implement into our lives, and the model is Jesus. Now, we are just going to be looking at the first 4 verses in chapter 2 that points back to everything that Paul has talked about in the first chapter and gives us the inspiration, I should say, to look at the model that is Jesus, which is the heart of this letter. And so these 4 verses, what would Paul choose to write as sort of this summary of all the things that he has written so far, and also this preamble of what he's going to introduce in the next handful of verses 5 through 11. What do you think Paul would talk about in these 4 verses? Well, it's a very interesting piece of scripture. One, I hope you know that the verses in the chapters, man put those in later. Paul didn't sit down and write chapter 1, verse 1, right? And so the first 4 verses, it's really a run-on sentence. And it's this incredible preamble, almost like Paul cannot get these words out fast enough. And it has no punctuation, there's no periods, there's no commas, there's no semicolons or dashes. It is all one sentence, and it is a literary device where Paul is saying, I want you to understand that these words are so full of passion about what I have written and what I'm about to say. And what would the subject matter of those verses be? Well, here's what they are, briefly. How to get along with people. You know, Paul is saying, if anything that I have written to you makes any sense, all these words that I have written to you about the things that I have suffered and the things that Jesus has suffered and why I'm looking forward to the future, whatever the future has in store. If any of this stuff has made sense to you, then this should apply to your relationships. Now, I've heard people say that, you know what, I like going to church as long as there weren't people there, right? You know, we've all kind of thought that before, that, you know, this world would be a whole lot easier to get along with everybody if everybody just wasn't around, right? You know, what makes the best neighbors? Well, good fences. You know, we've heard those types of phrases. But the truth of the fact of the matter is, people are people. And so before Paul gets to the ultimate model, who is Jesus, of what should inspire our life, and as he's summarizing in 4 verses, which is really just one complete thought without punctuation or pause, Paul says, Christ should make a difference in your personal relationships. And so this is what we're going to discuss on Sunday. We hope that you'll join us in person at 10 o'clock at Faith Church. If not, you can definitely get to us in our YouTube channel, Faith Church Martinsville. We hope to see you either as evident in person or evidence with your little social media like or whatever it may be, right? And we just encourage you to dive into these first 4 verses in chapter 2 in the letter to the Philippians. God bless. Have a great remainder of your day.